Alright, so I think I will do another video. I'm going to start off with zero hedge. Looks like we've come to some kind of agreement on the euro crisis. It's actually one tiny step out of a huge mountain of steps that they need to take. And it only involves Greece only. That's it. This is so laughable. And now look, now notice the date we're at, right? 26th October. The big market crash of 2011 was forecast for October. I mean, all signs, red light, October's that month. Late October is that deal. What happens if it happens in mid, late, whenever, November? All those short positions everyone was talking about, including myself, because I did the videos on them, telling people, hey, you could stand to make a couple bucks. Now, at the exact time I made those videos, within the next few days, had you got a short position immediately in some of those bank stocks, you would have made a couple dollars for sure. Anyways, the big market crash isn't here, is it? But could it be soon? Sure seems like it could, because they have a deal now for Greece. The only thing they came to the conclusion on, apparently today, very recently, a short while ago, is that the Greek bondholders are going to have to take not a 21% haircut that they originally were promised back in like July. That was the original deal. That's what we want. Now they're going to have to take a 50% haircut. And even a 50% haircut on those Greek bonds isn't good enough. The massive austerity measures on the Greek people, the income that Greece is getting from those people, its own citizens, is not going to be enough to do anything, even though they just took a 50% haircut on the bonds. Mark my words. I'm going to start this with zero hedge. We may just have a deal. EU official says deal reached on Greek debt cutting plan, Associated Press. Private creditors to take 50% cut on Greek bonds. If it's true, this means that Portugal, Ireland, Spain, and Italy will promptly commence sabotaging their own economies, just like Greece did, basically, simply to get the same debt blue light special as Greece. It also means that, at least according to Barclays, we have a credit default swap credit event. We have one, credit default swap event, although we are certain that Europe would never announce this deal unless ISDA was on board, and corrupt as always. In addition, Greece was unable to generate a 90% acceptance for the 21% haircut tender offer. And we are somehow supposed to believe that they can do it with 50%? Lastly, as a reminder, on September 14th, Moody's put Societe Generale and BNP and Crédit Agricole on downgrade review. This event I'm writing to you about, he wrote about, I'm speaking to you about, is that trigger, he says. This is that deal. This is the trigger for that. So they're on downgrade, and now what you guys have just done, okay, you will now be downgraded. Not review, you just signed your own death wish, basically. And to go a little further, let me read a little something from some mainstream media. And it's interesting to see some of the faces, which again, I'm not going to edit this video to show you this picture, but you know, they're on some kind of big giant meeting room, wherever they're at. Chancellor Angela Merkel spoke on Wednesday at the Bundestag. That's where they're at. I don't see anyone really smiling, actually. The closest smile I have is one lady with is sitting like this with a little bit of a snicker. That's it. Everybody else is like looking around. This guy's on his phone. This guy's like this. Not looking too happy. Europe agrees on a bank plan, but little else. That's all. Just a little tiny thing, nothing else. Brussels. European leaders made progress in resolving the Eurozone financial crisis in meetings here that stretched into Thursday morning, nearing an agreement for banks to take a 50% loss on the face value of the Greek debt, a European official said. I wish I saved the thread on godlikeproductions.com where they were on there. I'm going to go out and buy Greek stocks. They're pushing 90%, man. Or not stocks, bonds. Man, they're pushing 90% right now. This is crazy. You got money to be made hand over fist. Yellow. Listen, bozo on Godlike Productions, whoever you were. Did you make that purchase at 90% return only to find out your investment's gone? You just lost half of it. And if you hang on to it for much longer, you're going to lose more. So the next thing is, okay, they're taking a 50% haircut on these Greek bonds. But what happens if everyone else who's still left holding some of these Greek bonds, or the Greek people themselves, the government themselves in Greece, needs to sell more bonds, and the rest of the world says, listen, Greek bozos in charge over there, everyone just took a 50% loss on the bonds, and you want people to come up now and buy more bonds? If a country can't sell any bonds and get any money from those for those bonds, you're done. In this society, in this financial system, that's a world financial system now. They do the same thing in all these other countries. They all have central banks. They all print, create bonds and then sell the bonds, and whoever owns the bonds reaps the interest. If you can't sell your bonds, what happens? You don't get any money. So, you think people are going to rush over to the Greek bond line? Hey, can I have some bonds? I know these other idiots took a 50% haircut, but you wouldn't do that again, would you? No, come on up. Right. The report of a deal surfaced at about 3:30 a.m. here after difficult bargaining and represented a crucial element for restoring credibility to the euro. That would be like me telling you I'm going to try to restore credibility to my turd sandwich. I've got a sandwich on a hoagie roll. The main ingredient is a turd, but it is the best one you ever had. I got to restore confidence that it's not a turd. It's real food, and it's good for you. And then someone's going to come to me and say, but it's a turd, right? The old saying, you can't polish a turd. A turd is a turd. It can't look pretty polished, and it can't look pretty when it first comes out. You follow me? A turd sandwich is disgusting one way or the other. That's my point. Because you're probably grossed out from that point, but at the same time, you're like, hey, what? Jay Snip, hey. Good analogy, man. It's a little disturbing, but it made sense. And that's why I'm here for you. Because I care about you. So, the severe reduction would bring Greek debt down to 120% of the nation's gross domestic product, GDP. A figure still quite large, but a more sustainable figure for an economy driven into recession by austerity measures. It actually wasn't driven into recession by austerity measures. That was a side effect of the recession and the real reasons it was in the recession, which are the same reasons everywhere is a recession. It's the banking system. It's the fractional reserve lending. And it's the casino-style banking where they bet the house and farm, lose the bet, oops, taxpayer bailout, have a nice day. That's the reason, not because of austerity measures. Measures came in and made it 10 times worse, which is why I'm going to tell you now that any nation that reaches 100% of its GDP usually, and I say usually like heavy duty usually, night, sooner or later, much sooner than later. And by the way, this is 120%, not 100%, so this is worse than that. And again, with these new draconian austerity measures they just implemented in Greece, how does the Greek government think they're going to get that percentage down below? Right? How do you expect to put a fire out with a flamethrower? You follow me? Incredible. And our country, United States of America, get my flag, proud to be an American, fight for the rights of every man. Oh, come on. Yeah, you know that's complete bullcrap. Sorry about that. I had to throw that in there. I think they meant to say, proud to be an American, fight for the rights of all the banks, and then some. So, we, in America, are just, I don't know, if you can see that little gap between my fingers, in other words, in a matter of a week or two or three or something like that, we will be at 100% and then go over 100% of our own GDP. And I read tonight, our committee of 6 or 12, whatever, 6 of them have come to an agreement, the Democrats. We got a tax plan / budget cut plan. We're going to knock off $3 trillion. Well, that's a lot. That's a good job. When does that start? Next year? And is it how long of a period? A couple, 2, 3 years to get that knocked out? Now we're going to do it in a decade. We're going to spend 10 years knocking out $3 trillion. Really. At the current rate of spending, it is such utter nonsense that just, I don't know why I'm even on here talking right now. I mean, it's absurd. And, of course, the Republicans are saying, well, we're not taxing the rich. Ain't going to do that. But we like to cut Medicaid. That's okay. But not to tax the rich. We ain't doing that. Doesn't matter. It's nonsense anyways. Just like the euro is going to go away, as Lindsey Williams said, it's not happening right now because we came to an agreement tonight. Little Greek agreement. And by the way, silver just jumped 30 cents in the middle of the night right now. 10:30 at night. Eastern time anyways. And silver on this news jumped 30 cents on this news. So clearly, that's interesting because gold really didn't move much. $1. Gold's up $1, but silver jumped 30 cents. So let me continue reading a little more. Earlier, the leaders agreed on a plan to force the continent's banks to raise new capital to insulate them from potential sovereign debt defaults. But there was little detail on how the Europeans would enlarge their bailout fund, which is currently around $600 billion, to their goal of $1.4 trillion to better protect Italy and Spain. Italy and Spain, either of those goes, the Europe would be done. Again, even if Greek went, the Eurozone nations would start to fall apart anyways. So if Italy or Spain goes, it's just good night nurse at that point. The accord on Greek debt was crucial to assembling a comprehensive package to protect the euro, which has been keeping jittery markets on edge. While the bank recapitalization plan was generally approved without difficulty, banks will be forced to raise about $150 billion to protect themselves against losses on loans to shaky countries like Greece and Portugal. The negotiations over Greek debt were difficult. So now you're going to tell me that there's going to be investors just fighting to get in front of the line, the trough. I want to invest in these banks, to recapitalize these banks, after witnessing the massive downside of the banks and all the stocks across the world over the last little bit of time, months and months, a year, 2 years, from start to finish. Look at all the numbers. People are going to run in line, get in the front of that line. We want to invest our money in bank stocks to help them raise $150 billion. When most of those banks were the huge holders of the Greek bonds who just took a 50% haircut. No, I don't think I would want to do that. And they have till June of next year to do so. So, I've talked enough. I mean, really? Do I need to go on? No. And I will end this video, as I've been ending many of the videos I've been doing. Is any of this news bad news for gold and silver? Prices? Or is this lighting a fire under gold and silver prices? Even though we all know they're manipulated, and even though they could manipulate them down some more, the overall outlook, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year outlook, the ones that really count, which is why we're doing this, why I'm telling you to get silver now, why I said last year get your silver when it was $17 and $18. And that was you guys on YouTube. I started long before that on Facebook when it was in the mid-teens, also in low teens. So even today, $33 silver, 32, 33, I think it's 33 right now. $33 silver from $12 and $13 silver. That's almost triple, practically, depending on where you got in. It's triple. Especially if you take into the account that you could pick up Silver Eagles for $1.50 to $2 over spot back then, and now they want $4+ over spot to get an Eagle. Unless you buy 500 at a time, then we'll give them to you for $3 over spot, or 4 or whatever, 3. So, is all of this news, any of this news, make you say, man, I think gold and silver is going to suck? They need to raise the $600 billion euro, which I guess they're in United States dollars. You remember the one that they just passed the other day? We agreed to a $400 billion little TARP fund, the EFSS, whatever, EFSF fund. It's 400 billion euros. 600 billion US dollars. And they need to make it 1.3 trillion, minimally 1.3 trillion, to help cushion if any issues happen with Spain or Italy. In other words, as I've told you 100 times, there's going to be issues with Spain and Italy unless the stinking rotting corpses like Portugal, Spain, or Portugal, and namely right now Greece, go under first, and then the whole thing just gets disbanded anyways, and then it doesn't matter about Spain or Italy because everyone will be running from the euro at that point. The bottom line is, I can tell you with my best guess when I think this is going to happen, and I could be way off. That's why you just have to understand what's taking place. What does that mean for gold and silver in somewhat of a long-term future? And as I said, my version of long-term is a few years. That's it. Could you imagine, man, I wasted all my years and 20, 30 years in life. I lost a bunch of money in the stock market. I thought I'd have something to retire on. I don't have crap. I need to get into something now, and I need to get into something like right now that can make me some money in the next 5 years so I can retire with something. And I come to you and tell you, buy all the silver you can freaking buy right now. In 5 years, the money you put into it right now would make you sick in a good way at the price. Oh, and I say 5 years. In other words, from now until 5 years, anytime in between there, you can see the gold and silver just go crazy. And it's news like this. Oh, we come to an agreement, everyone. We needed to come up with like 10 agreements, but we came up with one. And it's just for Greece right now. It's kind of temporary also. 50% haircut on Greek bonds. That's a start. It's a start. And then they're going to sit back. Damn, that wasn't enough. Because what the markets said Greece needs to be at is 70% losses, not 50. So I would be curious to see how this goes. I would also be completely shocked, beyond everything, if Greece pulled back somehow. 120% GDP. Hey, they knocked it down to 110. Hey, they knocked it down to 100. Oh my gosh, it's down to 90 now. 80. The only way something like that could happen is if Greece came up with some massive kind of invention, whatever, the Greek people, and it's helped the Greece population. Aside from that, you can't possibly raise money when you're telling your whole country, we're shutting down the country, you're taking half of a pay cut here, you guys are sending off 3,000 employees from there, you're sending off 8,000 over there. All those people still have to be fed and clothed and taken care of course. They'll have their own little unemployment thing, all that stuff. And then their little tiny pool of people working, this little pool of people is supposed to support the whole government organization, pay back part of the loan bailout funds that they got, and take care of all the people who lost their jobs, because they got to eat too, of course. The chances of this happening isn't even slim to none. It's just, the chance is none. It is absolute none. A big fat goose egg. Zero. Nothing. Zilch. You do not pass go. You do not get $200. Goes to jail and go directly to jail. Throwing some Monopoly on you right now. So, I'm done. Last video. I'm going to bed. I hope you enjoyed tonight's doom. Financial doom. Because, like I said a while back, this is the beginning of the end. Take care.